Good evening. I'd like to call the Alton Board of Selectmen's meeting, September 21st, 2020, to order at 6 p.m. Until further notice, to keep our members and staff safe and to comply with the RSA 91-A, the state of emergency and governor's orders, restriction on public gatherings, Town of Alton has moved from in-person meetings to remote audio participation meetings. To remotely attend the meeting, audio and video, visit our website, www.altonh.gov. On the day of the meeting for instructions, or telephone the Selectmen's office 603-875-2113 or 603-875-0229. There continues to be no public input at this time. Gentlemen and ladies, if you'd please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. Mr. McDonald, if you could lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, gentlemen, I need approval of the agenda. We do have one consent agenda item. I know it's not listed on there, but we do have one to add to the consent agenda for payroll authorization. So if I get a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Okay. Make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
Motion to approve the agenda as amended by Paula Rochelle, second by Mr. Whitman. Any discussion? We'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative. Announcements being none. Submission of public comments, questions, and concerns. None being. Appointments, Jack Savage and Matt Leahy, Society of Protection, Hampshire Forest, Mount Major Blue Trail. Here we have Mr. Leahy on the phone.
It's a little late.
Mr. Savage or Mr. Leahy, are you there?
Yes, this is Jack Savage. I'm here, and I believe my colleague Matt Leahy is here as well.
Hey, welcome to our meeting tonight, sir.
Thank you.
You got your notice in your letter from Wendy, and I guess you want to sit here and talk to us tonight about this. So I will turn it over to you at this point.
Sure. Thank you very much. So you'll recall we spoke briefly last month about Mount Major, and we just want to go forward and making sure we're on the same page with you folks about what we're doing up there. As I'm sure you're aware, we've been doing some trail work on the first part of the trail in the last couple of weeks. That's going along well, we believe. I know I met one of your emergency responders up there one of the first days that we started, he was making sure that he had access through the gate during the construction period. We anticipate that wrapping up in fairly short order so that we can reopen the parking lot by end of this month, early October, when the big crowds come during the peak foliage season. Yeah, right. Thank you. You know, that's the very first part of a longer term effort. We're anticipating spending a lot more time and a lot more money on that the primary trail that goes to the top of Mount Major over the ensuing years, and that's a good thing from a public safety standpoint and from an environmental standpoint, just because of erosion issues and so forth. One of the things we wanted to just check in with you is on the parking. Obviously, one of the things that makes it difficult to meter the number of people that are on that trail at any given time is the parking along the road. And you all sent a letter to the DOT earlier this year suggesting that they permanently make some no parking permanently along the road. And I think we indicated last month that we were in agreement with your suggestion, and we subsequently have had a conversation with DOT as well. I think as long as their concerns are addressed, I think they're comfortable with that. And I think one of the key things that they were looking for was for the town to provide enforcement of any no parking that's established up there.
Yes, sir.
We're certainly fine with the no parking. I think the other issue that we are prepared to help with is, one of the DOT's concerns was, what happens when with the other trailheads on Mount Major, what happens when some of them become a problem area because people can't park or access the main trailhead, if that becomes an issue. And I think we can work with all of the partners through the Belknap Range Conservation Coalition that the town's involved with, and the Conservation Commission is involved with, Lakes Region Conservation Trust is involved with, Belknap Trail Tenders is involved with, and us. I think we can address that through signage and so forth. And that's really about pulling everybody together and thinking about how we're going to direct people as best we can on those overcrowding days. I don't know exactly what that means, but I think we can play a role in convening that group of stakeholders and figuring out how we can best address it.
Now, I know there was 40 cars on Jesus Valley Road this past Saturday, which is a lot of cars for that road. It went down to one lane. I had a few neighbors that came down and saw me, but overall it went well, so I was very happy to hear that.
Well, I'm glad to hear it went well. I think we need to be mindful of where, if we're going to constrain parking on Route 11, which again we're in agreement with, where does it start to overflow and how do we best address it? It'll be a process, but I think if we work together, we can make it work.
Right.
Long term, because we have long-term interests there. We want to, invest more there, do a better job at interpreting the trailhead, make it more of an educational experience for people. We have approached DOT about the possibility of us acquiring the land on which the parking lot sits. And I assume you know, but perhaps you don't, that we don't own the parking lot. We lease it from DOT. And we have an MOU with them, and it gives us a certain amount of leeway, things that we can do. But we don't have full rights to do whatever we want up there, and we'd like to have a little bit more flexibility. If we were to ever want to expand off-road parking, we would need to have access to some of that land. And so we've started a conversation with DOT about whether or not they would be open to the idea of us acquiring some or all of the land on which that parking lot sits. I'm mentioning that to you all because as part of the DOT process, they will be required to offer the land to the town, the municipality, before allowing us to acquire it. It's a long process. They've got to go through an internal review to determine whether or not they have long-term interests that would make it so that they'd want to keep the land. And if not, then they have to go through a process, and that includes coming to the town of Alton and essentially giving you a right of first refusal. So as we go forward, we wanted to have a better sense of what your thoughts were, whether you would be in favor of us acquiring that land, whether you'd prefer to take it on yourselves. I think to a certain extent we're crazy and want to do this because we're just taking on more responsibility, but we're fully committed up there, and we just want as much flexibility as possible to get the job done right. Anyway, we didn't want you to be taken by surprise in our reaching out to DOT. We wanted you to know that. We wanted to get a sense of what you thought about that idea, and just make sure that we're all working together, going in the same direction.
Well, I think that's a great idea, expanding the parking. It's too bad the state wouldn't look at it and it'd be a project for them to expand it for you, especially where you're leasing it, so you wouldn't have to take monies that you worked for and had donated to you to purchase land and to expand your parking. It's too bad that the state couldn't work hand in hand with you, maybe them do it themselves. But I think that'd be a fabulous idea, that the parking lot gets enlarged, so maybe there's an entrance and there's an exit there. But I myself wouldn't want to see the town take it on. One, liability, and two is the expense to the taxpayers, of having to upgrade it and to improve it every, say, 10 years.
Right.
I think it's a fabulous idea, and I would hope that the state themselves, maybe with the engineers, could design something for you, maybe help keep the cost down, and maybe they could come in through a federal grant for outdoor trails and stuff like that to do it themselves, still be able to lease it to you. That way there, you folks wouldn't have to worry about maintaining it or keeping it up.
Yeah, I think we have some of those stewardship obligations already. You know, we're paying for plowing and that kind of stuff. So we're prepared to do that. You know, that doesn't, we may be fools, but that doesn't frighten us off. We just need the flexibility to be able to manage it correctly. And right now we feel constrained. And
Correct.
I understand perfectly why the town wouldn't want to do that. I'm a former selectman myself. So, but we're just mentioning it because it will likely come as a question to you once we send a letter to sometime in the months following, when we would send a letter to DOT formally asking them to consider conveying out the land to us.
Okay, great. Oh, I think it's fabulous. A great idea. Gentlemen, do you have anything for Mr. Savage?
Yeah. Allow them to put bags over the no parking signs while they're working there.
On Route 11?
Yeah, open that.
I disagree with you, because I saw still too many people, and I believe there was somebody that put a sign out there a week ago, said, do not park here because I got a $60 fine for parking, no parking area, because it's going to congest it too much.
While they're working, the back lot's going to be closed.
That's right.
Bags over those signs right now, allow them to park there while they're closed.
I don't believe we should, because it just makes a congested area for people going 55 miles an hour.
You live on Jesus Valley, I don't. So if you're
Two is, by the look of their sign right here, their map, they're telling folks to go to 11D, go down on 11D and pick up the trail, head there, just past Boulder Lodge or by Boulder Lodge Cottage, come up through the woods, go through the tunnel, and then into the trail that way. Am I correct on that, Jack?
I'll be honest, I'm not 100% confident on exactly what the staff was recommending there.
Well, right now, they have the trail that comes up off of 11D through the tunnel that the state put in 1972, showing that as the trail to the highway tunnel to go to your to your approximate detour trail.
But
yeah, that certainly is an option.
You don't have
that tunnel is a little funky, but
you got a lot more on 11D than you do on Jesus Valley Road.
You know, I think that is a short-term issue. I think we'll be out of there before you know it. The work that's being done is going well. We're not encountering problems. We've got a real pro doing the work. So I think that's a short-term issue. I think the next time we'll see a ton of people up there where it's a typical issue is, Columbus Day weekend is the biggest weekend of all up on Mount Major.
Mm-hmm.
And I anticipate that the parking lot will be open by then, and we'll still have a ton of people on the road.
Okay. Bill?
I came through there today heading into town, and for the first time I saw the cones along the railing past the trail heading toward town, and people were not parking there. And that, to me, has still been the dangerous area, and it seems to be over now, so I was really happy about that. You know, it's going to be difficult while they're working on everything there, but if you look at the long term, it's going to benefit everybody.
I've actually seen state police there about a week ago.
Really?
That were there, and they had 2 cruisers there, and they were ticketing people right there. So people are starting to stay out of that one spot. But you anticipate how much longer? 2 more weeks?
Yeah, a couple more weeks, and I think we'll be out of there.
Okay.
The construction.
You're moving right along.
Mr. Holt? Okay. Well, Jack, I appreciate you coming in, sitting in with us tonight and talking to us about your plan for the future of Mount Major parking lot and the trailhead. It's been quite an eye-opening, and I'm sure the trails needed some work after the use they got this summer. So I do appreciate it. And thank you for your information, possible the state contacting us about the land. And is there anything else you need from us tonight?
No, I think I'm all set. Matt, was there anything else? Not hearing anything from my colleague. I think that's it. And I would just leave you with, if there are issues, if there's anything that you're curious about or upset about, don't hesitate to pick up the phone and call us. I'm happy to talk to you anytime.
All right, sir. I do appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you,
All right,
sir.
thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Okay, gentlemen, moving on to new business. Number 1, special events application, Alton Business Association, Harvest Happening 2020. In your packet, you'll see an application for the Alton Business Association to use the B&M Railroad Park. Requesting it in the back, you'll see a letter from the chiefs saying they have no problem with this. So I'm just hoping where they have no problem with this, that they're going to say Halloween's on also. Because this is in October, Halloween's in October, so if they're wondering that the ABA ought to be able to hold a special function, then the town should be able to hold a special function for Halloween and not cancel it.
Very good point.
No, I've had a lot of people ask me if the Halloween was going to be.
They don't have any concerns with that. They didn't have any concerns with band concerts in the Bay. They should have no concerns with kids walking down through Main Street getting candy. Those people that are going to be handing out the candy will have masks on and gloves on, and it's prepackaged factory food. So to me, I hope the emergency management team's listening. They don't cancel Halloween.
They hope to make a decision.
Well, there better be a yes decision. We're going to see protests in Alton.
October 1st.
Halloween matters.
I will ask tomorrow.
I'll be the first one down on the corner street saying Halloween matters too. You got the painter right in the road too.
I will definitely bring that up tomorrow.
Gentlemen, do you have any questions on the event plan for the ABA? Harvest Happenings 2020.
I just had one, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I just want to make sure the porta potties, there will be 3 of them there, like they have on the plan.
They have to be, or they can't do their Harvest Happening.
I've been to so many events lately, and those have not been proper, haven't been there.
That was part of the, yes,
Yes, ma'am.
that was part of the approval by the emergency management team that for this particular plan, because their first plan did not have enough in it to have social distancing and, to avoid crowds gathering and stuff, but this plan does. And they're a very reputable group, so I'm sure that they will have those.
I don't know, I get a concern with that, what you just said. Because the concerts, there was no social distancing. But that's all right. I'm gonna leave well enough alone.
There was
Before I get in trouble, before you point your finger at me. Yes, ma'am.
There's 2 ladies that are raising their hands. I don't know if you want to talk.
Yes, we get allowed, who's on the phone?
It's Amy,
Tavecchia?
yeah, and Christine.
Okay, Amy and Christy, are you there?
Hi, yes, I'm here. This is Christy Paincho.
Okay, Christy, how are you tonight?
Good, how are you?
Good. The ladies like to add anything in that I didn't say or should have said or shouldn't have said? What are you laughing at?
I would I would just like to say that we did go back and forth with the emergency management team a few times to like dot all our I's and cross all our T's and get all our ducks in a row. In addition to the like normal standard event permit application, we did submit a safety plan as well, where we highlighted on the map as well, not just where porta potties will be, which we will make sure that there will be ample restrooms available, but also hand sanitizing stations, having, you know, areas that are spread out so that people are kind of continuously moving through downtown. So we aren't planning anyone to really congregate, large groups to congregate in one area. We have a lot of strategically thought out ways to keep people moving from area to area to area. So that way there isn't a big crowd altogether. So we did submit a safety plan. In addition to all that, like I said, we have been going back and forth with the emergency management team. Obviously, we're open to feedback. We want this to be a safe, family-friendly event. That is our goal.
Fabulous. And Amy, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Oh, that was Amy. Sorry.
Oh, that was Amy. I'm sorry. I thought I was talking to Christy. Shame on me. Christy, do you have anything you want to add?
No, just want to echo Amy's comments. We were just making sure we were both here because we can't see if we're on at the same time.
No, you're both on. Gentlemen, do you have any questions for the two ladies?
No, just
Hey.
I mean, it looks like they prepared it quite well and explained themselves well. Looks good.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, then I need a motion to approve the special events application, Alton Business Association, Harvest Happenings 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Paul Rochelle to approve this special events application, Alton Business Association, Harvest Happenings 2020, second by Mr. Holt. Any further discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald? Mr. Wentworth, yes. Vote is in the affirmative. You ladies are approved.
Woo!
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
You're welcome, ladies. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
You too.
All right. So next, I would like to bring in the fire department and water department on this because it's the fencing down at the fire department and water department, because I'm going to take it, if this gets approved, they will have it done at the same time. So I'd like to have Courtney and the fire chief on the phone at the same time if we could. Zoom in your packet, you'll see a fire department, water department fence quote. To replace the fencing that is down there. Yeah, they couldn't get quote fence company, but I did talk to Courtney about this today. They tried Superior Fence and they just said they did not understand because they do not have the time. Right now, the water department's equipment is wide open to the openings because the stockade fence that was purchased almost 15 years ago finally rotted out and gave way.
Yeah, but that fence was always open anyway.
Well, they still had a gate on it, and at least it was hidden what was behind it. The only way to see it was to get over it. So they're both here tonight requesting that they be able to put their fencing up, take it out of the budget. Talked to Courtney. She was hoping to use the revenue fund, but I'm hoping to use money out of her budget, see where her budget goes, and possibly take it out of the capital reserve fund if we can. And I don't have my capital reserve tonight with me. Didn't know if one of the ladies here, Laura or Liz, might have one.
I think I have mine.
Okay. Chief and Courtney, are you with us?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Now, the backside where these fencing are going, I take it's behind the fire department. I know it's behind the water department, but it's also behind the fire department, Chief?
Yeah, it's going to be between the tennis courts up in that training area where those bins are, and we're working on the roofing. Try to keep that area clean and away from those that are using the recreation fields.
So I'm going to ask the town administrator something here. I'm going to go to the water department first. And the water department quote was $5,485.82. So it's just over the $5,000. You're getting 3 quotes. Courtney, in the water building expenses, which I'm gonna take this fence is gonna be attached to the building, correct?
Yes.
So I'm gonna ask the town administrator, if she can look into the town attorney if this fence can be used as part of the building expense capital reserve.
Okay.
Because I'd like to see the money come out of that before we touch the revenue fund.
Okay.
I mean, that's myself personally. I don't know how the rest of the board feels. And the fire chief, you have said it will come out of your building fund, correct?
Yeah, we had planned on this after the fence came down. We budgeted money to repair the fence or replace the fence. So we're trying to tag along together to get the best deal.
What gets me is Lowe's, who's gonna hire, put it in. Because Lowe's ain't gonna do it, they'll hire a contractor.
That's correct. Yes. So you're paying, Lowe's is getting a kickback on it.
I think we should get a fence company. I mean, you got American Fence, you got.
Can I ask the fence companies that you guys contacted?
So myself, I reached out to Lakes Region Fence because that's who the town has used numerous times. And they were just too busy. Superior Fence was the same. I don't know whether it's due to things being slow and saying no to work in the beginning of COVID and everything's piled up, or they just are right out straight. A lot of people, it doesn't seem like people have stopped spending money. So I'm not sure if household projects have just taken up most of their time, but I was pretty unsuccessful with the two people that I'd reached out to, and I'm not sure who the chief spoke to himself, but we tried to get together and do this, and we kind of just said, hey, whoever you know, and talk to people you know, and reach out to fence companies, and we both did it separately, and then we were told that Lowe's does fencing, and that's what we were left with, and they were able to come right out, provide us with a quote and measurements. That's kind of how we came up with Lowe's. We, like I said, I mean, it wasn't planned for us to put it up. I know there were some complaints from the people that use the recreational facilities that from time to time our areas can be pretty messy until we catch up and can clean up. And the other fence had just really rotted, and then eventually we had a windstorm that took it down, so we took the rest of the panels down. So it was separate from people's line of vision before, and I'm sure they'd like to see it put back up.
Gentlemen, Virgil. You want to reiterate kind of what you said, or you want to just
I think
leave
it
it?
should go out to bid. I think it should go out to more fence companies.
Mr. Whitman?
Yeah, I think it's worth a shot. I do. Also, we were talking about it coming out of the building fund for waterworks as well, as I would agree with that.
I would as well, and I think it's worth making a few more phone calls.
Right now in the building fund, there's $10,069.73. It's the whole,
I just had a couple of issues. I'd like to see more quotes or bids.
Yep.
On those privacy slats, is that the whole fence?
yes, I don't know about the fire department. I know the water department was. Courtney did say that to me. Chief, does yours include the privacy slats?
Yeah. But it's
Yes,
the whole
and
fence.
that's going to be for the whole fence. Yep.
For the gates.
I'm not that familiar with exactly where they want to put these fences. I got a good idea, but if we could have a little plot plan,
Mine is just replacing the fence that was there before. Nothing's
same here.
The one that was removed.
are you going to hook it to the building?
It will be
Yep.
hooked to the building.
Was it hooked before?
Yes, sir. Well, it was right up against it with nailed to a two by four, yes.
Okay.
So the consensus of the board, Chief and Courtney, is that it needs to go out to bid, be advertised, and then hopefully come back in. Hopefully American Fence over in Hooksett, and hopefully Route 125 fencing, hopefully put a bid in along with that. And if the folks say that they're too busy, not interested, maybe you could just ask them if they could just send you a memo stating that.
I unfortunately, I did have the denials from the fence companies, and I didn't put them in my folder, and after the 45 days, they got deleted. So unfortunately, I didn't have those for you, but.
Okay. So the consensus of the board is to send it out to bid and advertise it. If we could do that, and possibly for 2 gentlemen, or 1 week? 2 weeks?
Weeks.
2 weeks.
Weeks, town policy is 2 weeks, am I correct on that?
Month, ain't it? The town
Yeah.
policy was a month. 30 days.
Or,
Putting out to bid.
no, it can be 2 weeks, 30 days, whatever, doesn't matter.
2 weeks, gentlemen?
Yeah.
All right, folks, 2 weeks, if you put it out to bid and come back to us in 2 weeks, and if in 2 weeks it's a budget meeting, have Liz present it to us at the budget hearing so we don't wait too long on this.
Okay.
Alrighty.
All right,
Thanks.
folks, thank you.
Yep.
And Chief, we're gonna stay with you because we're gonna go to fire department bid specifications, bay floor.
All right. So you guys should have that sheet in front of you. This is, again, pretty much out of my wheelhouse, and I got the spec is from Kenny. He had done some work on the flow where the ladder truck usually resides, and based on what he found there and what they did there for the ladder truck, this was his recommendation.
Why are you going with 2 layers of geotech?
That's what's under, according to Ken, that's what's under the floor where the ladder truck is, and that has not wavered a bit.
You dump an 8-inch slab in there with rebar and it wouldn't waver.
This is a little out of my field, so I'm gonna,
We can discuss how you,
Bill House.
we can discuss how it should be prepared and built. till the cows come in. I'm not a concrete engineer. And I think this is a little overkill, but I just can't,
well, on a floor like that, the equipment was standing, and being that it's an old stand pit that's sitting on the
Well, that's why.
river's water table, that's why I'm wondering if Ken is recommending that the chief put in there 2 layers of geotech, only because that is moving. And as we know, the fire department in one corner has sunk a little bit because that's been
rebar in it. The fibercrete's fine, but you still gotta put your rebar in.
Yeah,
What's the purpose of going 36 inches?
to put a good base on, I believe that's what they're looking for, so it doesn't sink anymore.
That's
Do
okay.
they know what's under there now?
The first floor they dug with the ladder truck on the last bay over, when they dug that out, it was garbage under there.
It was all junk in there, so they're assuming 36 inches will be enough.
Yeah.
That's not.
That's about what he had to dig about 32 inches last time.
30 to 32 inches
That's
last
all
year.
you normally do is about 36 inches under the floors anyways.
Well, yeah, providing it's not soft material underneath that. Right, that's what I'm saying, it's a guess right now.
With the water table being as low as it is right now, hopefully they don't run into any water.
I wouldn't think they would.
but I don't see any
Street
rebar.
mesh is floor mesh, which is thin as hell. It ain't gonna help you too much.
Fibercrete is strong, 4,000 pound mix is reinforced strong.
You still gotta have, even if it's fibercrete. I mean, I use fibercrete all the time. That's all I use. And
We have Mr. Roberts available, he should be.
Yeah, there's no
Well,
rebar.
not, even if it's not rebar, if it's
All
YMF.
right, gentlemen, I'm gonna bring in Mr. Roberts on this, where he helped the chief out with it. Mr. Roberts, are you there?
Sir,
Roberts?
yeah, I've been listening to part of the conversation. If you'd like me to explain to what we did on the first bay?
Yes, sir, that's why I'm asking you to come in and join the conversation.
Yeah, okay, the first bay, when we first dug it out, we ended up with 8 or 10 inches of good gravel. Let me go back. There was 3.5 inches of mortar mix of some type. Is actually the base floor in the fire station. When they put the quint on it, which was the ladder truck, is 53,000 pounds. It busted it all up. So we went in there and dug it out with a backhoe. We got through the first layer and then we found all the humus. In other words, it was all black. It was the greatest loom you ever saw. And we went down approximately 32 inches below the existing floor. And still it was questionable material, but because of the way geotech works, we laid the geotech fabric down prior to adding any good material. And then we laid the good material, then another layer of geotech. That should have said that you could drive a freight train over the top of it. And then don't quote me, I think it was Bayside Concrete is the one that came in and poured the floor that was in it. And that quint sat in there for, I don't know, you can ask the chief, it's been in there for a long time and never cracked the floor or anything. So the recommendation is to do the rest of it. And I think you're going to find out there's going to be a lot of humus once they go through the top layer. And when you put geotech in it, and the geotech is rather almost, I'm going to say inexpensive, but I can buy 312 feet of it, 12 feet wide, for about $800. So for that slight investment for that bay, the best thing it could have was the geotech put in place, and that's a fabric. And that will float anything. It will float a freight train coming in on it.
Mr. McDonald had a question about why there was no rebar in it, and that you're saying that the geotech and the fibercrete will take care of that?
That's what it did for the quint. I'm pretty sure there was no rebar in it. I think there was steel in it. I think there was a steel grid that was put into that fibercrete. But don't quote me on that. I'm not sure. I'd have to check with the people who poured it.
Okay, gentlemen, you heard Mr. Roberts worked with the chief on this and worked on the other bay. What is your pleasure? Are you happy with the specs that are going to go out for bid?
I am. I think the specs look good.
Holt,
I question them.
you're questioning what?
Question specs, and,
What would you like to see added to the specs then?
oh, again, I'm not trying to be an engineer, but,
Would you like to meet up, would you like to meet,
Steel and concrete is what I'm familiar with.
would you like to meet up with Mr. Roberts to have him show you that bay that they poured a few years ago?
Can I just ask Mr. Roberts a question? Ken, this is Paul.
Yes, sir.
In your past experience with any concrete, on a concrete floor, have you put rebar in the floor?
Only on the perimeter if it had a poured foot, such as a floating slab would have rebar around the outside edge because it would be about
Correct.
12, 14 inches thick. But as far as the floor itself, no. It would probably have steel screen in it, whether it was fibercrete or not.
At times, if it's necessary, you drill and pin to the concrete walls on the edges only, correct? And floating floor.
And that's what we did at the Senior Citizen Center.
Mm-hmm. So would it make sense to you to put rebar on the outside perimeter of the floor into the concrete walls?
No, because it will float pretty good. I think the entire thing will float pretty good once it's set on geotech. And again, these are compacted in 6-inch lifts. When it goes in, there should be no movement in that floor whatsoever. And that proved it in, lack of a better term, Bay 4, where the quint was set. And that was 53,000 pounds. That's one of the biggest trucks we had.
He's talking, wait a minute.
No, I agree. Thank you.
Mr. Whitman,
I'm no expert on this whatsoever, so at this point, I go along with the bid spec.
gentlemen, do I have a motion to approve the bid specs as submitted?
I make a motion that we approve the bid specs as submitted this evening.
I'll second.
Motion made by Paul Rochelle to approve the bid specs as submitted, seconded by Bill Whitman. Any further discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. Holt?
No.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
McDonald? Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in affirmative, 2 nay. Mr. Holt, Mr. McDonald, in the nay. Mr. Wentworth, Mr. Whitman, and Mr. Rochelle in favor. And I'm in favor of relying on my department heads that have done this before. I'm not saying that you haven't, Virgil, but he's used the geotech. That's why I'm voting in favor of this. Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Ken.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
You are approved to go ahead and put out your bid specs. Number 4, IT department, assessing department, mobile device, and as you can see, the IT department is not here tonight. He's under the weather a little bit, so maybe Liz is going to speak to this.
He's attending
Oh,
remotely.
he is attending remotely. He just didn't want to be here. Okay.
Want to get you sick.
You want to get me sick. Okay, Josh, how are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Well, you can't be good. You're not here. So that's all right. A little humor there for you. So you're requesting some monies tonight, I believe, in the amount of $1365.56. Am I correct?
Yes, I'm looking to. I'm basically asking for 1675. out of the IT Equipment Capital Reserve Fund to be spent on equipment for the assessor with the intent of preparing him for next year's revaluation.
Right now you have $6,346 in that budget, correct? In that reserve?
Yes.
All right. First page was 1,300. Second page brings it to 1,584.61. So you're just rounding it to 1,600, correct?
That is correct. And the 1675, I want to make it clear. I am going to put this out across all of my vendors and get the best pricing. So it might actually come in a little bit lower than 1675.
So you're bumping it up about another $70. Is basically what you're doing, $71.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm confused, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
On the backup sheet, it's 1584.61.
Yes, sir.
It says grand total, including tax.
That is what this is what he was quoted from a company. Am I correct with that?
That is correct. There is one piece of equipment that I was not able to obtain a quote for. I believe it was a $60 piece of equipment, somewhere in the range of $60 to $80. That's why there's a little bit extra there. That equipment would also go with the tablet computer that we'd be getting for the assessor. It would all be a part of this purchase for him.
That satisfy you, Mr. Holt?
Yep. So what we're asking for is 1675.
Yes.
Then he's going to go out to different vendors and see if he can get a better quote, correct, Josh?
That is correct.
Any other discussions from Mr. Josh? All right, gentlemen, can I entertain a motion to approve the IT department, assessing department mobile device to expend monies from the capital reserve, IT technology, CRF? 1675.
With the understanding that he's going to go to other vendors.
Yes, sir. That will be in the minutes. Motion made by Mr. McDonald to approve 1675 to come out of the IT technology CFR, capital reserve funds, to expend 1675 for assessing department IT mobile device. Second by Phil Whitman. Any further discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Wentworth, yeah. Both affirmative. Josh, you have the approval.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Hope you feel better.
Good evening.
Have a good evening.
All right, moving on to old business, we'll bring Mr. Roberts back on the phone. Well, we did, but we had asked in the future that we have a letter coming back that the person that got the bid but not getting the bid, have them send a letter in that they understand why they're not getting the bid now. And I believe that's what he did for us. Am I correct there, Mr. Roberts?
Yes, sir. There was emails back and forth, and as you see, I think it's about your third page, and it was about, I understand the board's decision to award this to another bidder. In other words, we had the discussion. He understands it. He doesn't have any issues.
The only reason I asked for that is just to protect the town's interest once we have done that, that's all. It's not that I
Yes,
didn't
sir.
believe you, but this way here, we have a paper trail to follow it.
Yes,
Do
sir.
you have any questions on that one from Mr. Roberts? Ken, I appreciate you putting that into our packet tonight so we can review. Moving on to Highway Department one-ton warranty. Remember, John, we asked him to bring back what the warranty covered and why he wanted us to do it now, not wait, because it was going to be $500 more, and it only goes on from the mileage you have at that point to the 75,000. And reading the warranty package, it's a good warranty package. So I would consider a motion to approve his request to go ahead with the 7-year, 75,000 mile warranty at $3,265. If I'm correct with that, Ken?
Yes, sir.
How many miles you average on these trucks, Kenny?
It looks like we're running about 10,000 miles a year. So this will cover about, like I say, 7 years or 75,000. That'd be pretty close to being even.
By that. Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Holt.
Just a little clarification. When does this 7-year, 75,000 take effect? After?
The date we purchased it.
So actually, you're only getting, well, you're getting 4 years and 29,000 miles on the bumper.
Right, but if we waited like I had suggested, because that's the way I feel, we would only still be getting up to 75,000 miles. It's 7 years, even if we paid for an extra $500 afterwards. That's what it came in our letter 2 weeks ago, and that's what he explained to us 2 weeks ago. Am I correct with that, Mr. Roberts?
Yes, sir. And this is a plus coverage that goes beyond the regular warranty as well.
So this is, so it's bumper to bumper basically for the 7 years, 75,000.
Well, no, it's not for 7 years. It's only for 4 years because you've already got it for 3.
You are, and I know that's what I explained, and it will cost us another $500 for the warranty if we do not do it now at this point. So he was trying to save $500. That's my correction, Ken?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that.
So this doesn't kick in after the 3 years?
No, this starts now. It's just like when you buy an extended warranty ourselves from the garage. It's for the same amount of time. We'd end up getting the same thing. So if we put 10,000 miles on this year and we decide to buy it next year, it would still only go to 75. We'd be paying $500 more, and we'd still only be getting 65,000 miles more. That's it in the 7 years.
Have we ever tracked any of these warranties that we have on vehicles?
Mr. Roberts, can you answer that question? You can answer that better than me.
We actually have one in effect right now. We have one of the international 6-wheelers with a transmission that just went in that's still covered under warranty, bumper to bumper. It's being utilized right now. We should be picking it back up, completely done on Friday.
It's still right here. The vehicle comes with a 46,000 mile bumper to bumper and a 5-year, 100,000 mile powertrain warranty.
Sometimes you can insure yourself to death.
You have to pay $3,000 for a 2-year warranty, because we're already covered 5 years of the powertrain.
Just say that.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
one of our biggest problems previously in the years past is transmissions. One transmission, anywhere running $3,600 to $5,000. If this goes within that 7 years, you just paid for your warranty. So one of the things we found out, if there was a problem, we have it.
Yeah, but Kenny, you got a 5-year, 100,000 mile powertrain warranty. That covers that transmission.
Doesn't cover it for 7 years.
Oh, it covers it for 5.
The factory one.
I can't argue warranties. I'm just supplying you with a number.
The other thing that I found out with my last Ford that I bought, 2016, when I bought the extended warranty, it covered all my computer components. If I did not buy the extended warranty, my computer components were dead at 36,000 miles. And the cost of the computer components, which was basically everything, was astronomical. So I've always, myself personally, I've always gone the extended. I had bumper to bumper. But I was fortunate. I had 7 years. I had a 7-year 100,000. Ford offered a 7-year 100,000, and I've used it.
Don't cover electronics then.
I don't know. I would assume that this would cover his computers and everything else in the truck. But
The extended one.
the extended one, yes.
Right, not the factory one, the bumper to bumper.
Not the factory one, bumper to bumper. It would up to 3 years. After 3 years, I do not believe his computer systems would be covered. So I recommend that we go ahead and, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the 1-ton warranty purchase.
A second.
Okay, so Mr. Wentworth made a motion to approve the 1-ton warranty purchase from Mr. Roberts. I'll make that amount here in just a minute. Let me get back to it.
$3,260.
$3,265, 7 years, 75,000 miles. Second by Mr. Whitman. Further discussion? Poll the board. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald? Did you say no? No. And Mr. Wentworth, yes. 4 affirmative, 4 voted, and 1 nay. Nay is Mr. McDonald. Thank you, Mr. Roberts.
Yes, sir.
Oh, excuse me. Mr. Holt was in favor, Mr. Ursell was in favor, Mr. Whitman was in favor, and Mr. Wentworth was in favor.
No. For me, Bob, I didn't know on the
I
floor.
said your names.
No, you just said.
I could have sworn I said your names.
I vote no, you, Mr. McDonald.
I'm adding a little humor to our meeting tonight, you know? Been too serious lately. Moving on to Selectmen's reports, Mr. Holt.
I just had one thing. Milfoil Committee is looking into the vegetation growth down at the Harmony Park here, Town Beach area, and they're going to get back to us.
Saw them out there today.
Great. Mr. Rochelle.
Just the water bandstand was under repair today by Winnipesaukee Marine. They were out there and they were all day and they were expecting to finish tonight. I did not see them at 4:30, 5 o'clock, but I did take pictures and take a look at it, and they were moving right along very nicely. They didn't see any major changes or any major differences other than the ones that they had noticed before that were broken as far as the cribbing logs that needed to be replaced. And it was moving along pretty good.
So they're all out of there? They're done?
I think they thought they'd be done this afternoon.
Yeah, because the equipment's on.
Yeah, they weren't gonna leave the barge there overnight anyway.
No.
But he did not think he had to come back, say, I'll call him in the morning. Tomorrow, I mean.
Good.
So they were on one side at about 11 o'clock. They were on the other side at about 1 o'clock. So,
Yeah, they repaired both corners that were hit by the ice and that were damaged.
Yeah.
And there was nothing else that looked like there was anything wrong with it or any other damage that needed to be addressed. So it should be good.
Mr. Whitman. Ms. McDonald.
Planning board's getting ready to start the master plan. It's set up to start it. And if you get a chance, go up and take a ride, because we have a road that they're gonna be coming in front of us on. To take over,
It's up on Alt Mountain.
no, what's called,
New Hope, Hope Road?
Hope Road.
Hope Road. Down by the Bear Estate and stuff.
Yeah,
down
right.
The old camp,
Yeah.
Camp DeWitt.
Right.
Camp DeWitt, was it?
Camp DeWitt.
Camp DeWitt.
Camp DeWitt, Camp Alton.
Camp Alton.
We're there, it's down in Camp Alton. But they'll be coming in front of us to take that road over. We halted it because the road's only 20 foot of pavement. And for a major subdivision like that, we've got Jessica looking up the specs and everything.
It's only 20 foot wide, you mean 24 foot wide? 20 foot wide. Okay.
That's why you gotta look up the specs and stuff and what it was.
For what the ordinance was at that time when they developed it, okay?
Yeah, make sure.
Anything else?
Nope.
Anything? For me, I just have a couple of things. I hope the town administrator and emergency management team tomorrow at their meeting will discuss town roads such as Reed Road, Jesus Valley Road, and Alton Mountain Road, where the Mount Major Park is closed, that the police department will patrol those areas a little bit more, especially on weekends, for the parking that's going on in now Route 11D. Just because, so they park off the road enough so the emergency teams can get through.
You might get hectic on Jesus Valley, where that parking lot's closed up.
Well, last weekend, there was over 40 cars that were parked on one side, so it was a little tight for the neighbors up the road, but they managed. The other request I have is the bathhouses. The doors now on the bathhouses should be remaining closed in the morning, either being open around 6 o'clock in the morning, police department. But as the temperatures keep dropping, below 32, one of these mornings we could get caught if we leave them wide open and the pipes freeze. I'm hoping that they can be left closed at this point now, unlocked, but it's still open between 6 and 10 at night.
Yeah, those are open on there.
Yes, we do have top
They
windows.
got closed.
We should make sure they're closed, because sooner or later that furnace is gonna come on, the door's gonna be wide open, we're just heating outside.
Yeah, Kelly.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And if there's a problem with the emergency management team that they shouldn't be knobs, so everyone's not touching it, maybe we need to go to a push bar system where you can just open it by pushing it open, one way or another. And we have that.
That was the idea of the new doors, they were supposed to put a stand out there for,
Because we can always put a deadbolt in it anyways to lock
I
it.
was supposed to have that a long time ago.
I'm just thinking where the temperature's gotten low, they're not gonna stay this low for a while, they're gonna come back up a little, but it's gonna get caught, sooner or later, we're gonna get caught with it, that's all, with those doors being open, the draft goes in, hits a pipe and freezes something, that's all. And that's all that and the budget committee did meet last week. There is another meeting this week. The new chairman is the same, Pat O'Brien, and Dave Hersey is the vice chairman. Mr. Levitt from the school was there, myself was there. One member could not make it, and there is 2 vacancies. So if anybody knows somebody that'd like to sit on the budget committee and a vacancy, 2 spots, it'd be great to have them. Because if one person doesn't show up right now, like last week, we wouldn't have been able to hold a meeting.
Have we done any advertising?
I don't know if the budget committee has or not. I believe they have, yes. Okay, that is all that I have, so I will turn it over.
That board goes up and down on it, budget committee. For years, you'll have over budget, and then just show up.
No, they have a lot of people, they have people that get beat up on it, pretty bad.
Oh, yeah.
And for no money whatsoever, they get beat up pretty bad at times.
That's part of the course. I'm used to it.
So at this point here, I'll move over to the town administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item I want to bring up is our highway manager is retiring. You have a letter here, and I'd like to publicly thank him for all of his hard work.
Nice letter, too.
Yes, a very nice letter, and he will be retiring April 9th, 2021. So we have a little bit of time to search, advertise, or whatever the board wishes. We can talk about this at a future meeting. Next item I have is, has to do with a recent lawsuit against the town, Alice Whitney Trust and John Whitney Trust versus Town of Alton. I received word today from Attorney Smith, who was representing the town, that the town has won the case, which had to do with the claim that the town did not tax deed it properly, failed to give proper notification. And in reading the email from the attorney, the court issued the attached order this morning granting the town's motion for summary judgment. The court found that sending the notices by regular mail and sending the courtesy letter satisfied the due process requirements, so the plaintiff's claim fails as a matter of law. They do have the right to file a motion for reconsideration within 10 days with the court if they would like to. And they also can file an appeal to the New Hampshire Supreme Court within 30 days. So I'll keep you posted if any of those 2 things happen.
Thank you.
The next item has to do with a survey that I received from the State Office of Strategic Initiatives, and you have it in your binder under TA report. And they have sent a 4-question survey form. It's on the second page. And I didn't know if you wanted to answer it or think about it with some responses at the next meeting or not answer it. It was sent out to all municipalities. I did forward it to the land use boards in case they wanted to respond to it as well. And it has to do with RSA 9-B, the smart growth policy in regards to growth.
So who are they looking for the input from?
Well, they sent it to each town administrator, town manager for the Board of Selectmen. That's my understanding.
And this is an option whether to participate or not?
Yeah.
Joe, if you could look at that.
I could bring it up at a future meeting if you have.
Yeah, 2 weeks, it should be given 2 weeks to go. It's gonna, and just to let you know, on the lights, it's gonna be a little tough because there's quite a bit of time going involved in that, so.
About to stop lying to us, stop in rumble strips.
Okay. Sorry. I'd like to just go back on one that where Mr. Roberts, and I didn't put any input in. Mr. Roberts, it's been a pleasure. I've been sitting here for 17 years. I've known you for more than 25 years. It has been a pleasure working with you, and I do wish you all the best in the future. You have done a tremendous job for this town. I know me and you have not always agreed. We've had our differences, but one thing I can say about it, we've always agreed to disagree and move forward for the betterment of the town. And you will be missed, but you have earned this retirement for the years you have put in. And I just want to say thank you personally. I'm sorry, I interrupted on your
That's
stage.
all right. No, you're entirely welcome. And then the last item in the open session has to do with the next regular meeting, which is October 5th. I'm sorry, not a regular meeting. It would be
Workshop.
the week after, which is Columbus Day, the Columbus Day holiday, right, the 12th, Monday the 12th. So that would be a budget meeting, and so Tuesday the 13th, Wednesday the 14th, Thursday the 15th are all open for you, for your budget meeting, to review budgets, approve them, and so on. You could pick a date.
Any day.
I go with a Wednesday. What is the date of the Wednesday?
The 14th.
14. Yeah, that's fine. The Wednesday?
Yeah, Wednesday the 14th.
Is that with you?
Bob, you're okay? Ruben? Virgil?
14th.
Right now, I am.
Okay. All right, so that will be Wednesday the 14th. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yeah, it's so much easier this year for some reason. Oh. Is that your last item, ma'am?
Yes, it is.
All right. Move on to approval of minutes, August 24th, 2020 workshop, re-approval. I believe this was some word changes in here that Mr. Rochelle asked for.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was the August 24th, 2020 workshop minutes.
Sure.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as written.
I'll second.
Motion made by Paul Rochelle to re-approve 9/21/2020 with more comments on page 2, EMT discussion, seconded by Mr. Whitman. Any discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. Holt.
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle.
Yes.
Mr. Whitman.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald. Yes. Mr. Wentworth, yes. Vote is in the affirmative. All.
And I want to thank Mary for going back over those again.
September 9th, 2020 regular.
How are we making out on Roberts Cove Beach?
As far as what?
Roberts Cove Beach. How are we making out with that?
So as far as you gathering information?
Yeah, and setting that meeting up.
Yep.
In the minutes and statements, where I'd like to see the current easement signage, involve the building code official and the police department, and the copies of the easement and what is to be maintained. So we need to look at that. I think Mr. Devers is going to be looking into the easement of that and report back to us, I believe.
Yep, and Mary did some pretty significant research on the insurance part of it as well.
So that will be coming back in force, hopefully before winter time.
Absolutely.
So the Snowmobile Club will know what they have to do and everything else.
And it's the Powder Mill Snowmobile Club. It's not the Mount Major Snowmobile.
Oh. Okay.
Mary found that out as well, so.
Great.
Yeah, we can talk about that when it's.
I just said,
Yeah, I'm more concerned about the partying and the fires on the beach.
Yeah. Police have been notified and, yeah.
Mr. Holt, did you have a question?
I had one. I didn't attend the meeting, but Article 6 there, Highway Department warranty purchase, which we
Yes, sir.
just discussed.
Yes, sir.
But it says here the actual cost will be brought to the budget meeting, along with details of the coverage. I think that should say Board of Selectmen meeting. Maybe I'm wrong.
That was,
No?
might have been for the meeting the following week, which was last week, the 14th.
Yes, which was last week, the 14th, but Mr. Roberts did not have what it covered bumper to bumper, so we asked him to bring it back before us, this meeting.
Yeah, but it says budget meeting.
Yeah, it would have been the budget meeting or our workshop.
Last
Not
week,
workshop.
the 14th.
So the 14th was the workshop.
So the minutes are correct.
Okay, okay.
Do I have a motion to approve the September 9th, 2020 regular minutes?
Motion, we approve the September 9th minutes.
Second.
A motion by Mr. McDonald to approve the September 9th, 2020 regular minutes, second by Mr. Whitman. Any further discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Abstain.
Wentworth, yes.
Make a motion that we approve the September 9th.
Minutes passed, 4 in favor, 1 abstention. Mr. Holt?
Make a motion that we approve the September 9th non-public session. Keeping number 2 sealed.
Well, and number 1,
Why do you think we gotta keep number 1 sealed?
That's because it's still filed with, still in motion with the Attorney
Taken
General.
care of.
Huh?
It's already been taken care of.
I haven't heard anything from the AG's office.
All right, keep 1 and 2 sealed.
I have a second.
Second.
Made by Mr. McDonald to approve the September 9th, 2020 non-public session and not to divulge number 1 or number 2, second by Mr. Rochelle. Any discussion? Poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
I abstain.
Wentworth, yes. Motion carries. 4 in favor, 1 abstention. Mr. Holt abstaining.
Make a motion, we approve the September 14th, 2020 minutes.
I'll second that.
Motion made by Mr. McDonald to approve the September 14th, 2020 budget meeting minutes of the Board of Selectmen, second by Mr. Holt. Any discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Vote is in the affirmative, 5-4.
I have a question.
5 that approve, excuse me, not 5. Yes, Mr. Whitman?
The first minutes that we went over again, that had the additional stuff to it.
Yes, sir.
You weren't at that meeting, so when we voted on the new.
I said yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry, I should have abstained.
Just want to make sure we got it right, you know.
So you want to change that to your vote to an abstention? Okay, for the.
I'd like to change my vote on August 24th, 2020 workshop reapproval to an abstention.
Very good.
Very good picking that up.
Once in a while,
Well, you're not asleep over there tonight. All right, gentlemen, we'll move on to the consent agenda, which we had one item added, which was for a classification work.
Personnel action form, which I handed out right before the meeting. This is the only item.
Mhm.
I didn't have a consent agenda, that's why there's not a.
And it got brought up because of a water dig this weekend. So if I can have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion made by Reuben Wentworth to approve the consent agenda for work classification, second by Mr. Rochelle. I'll poll, any discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Votes in the affirmative.
That takes care of that water issue, right?
Yes, sir. At this point, discretionary action request for appointments, no discussion, majority vote required to allow or not to allow. Mr. Shibley, lease renewal. He's requesting an appointment with us. Yes, Liz.
On the third page of that, my recommendation is to approve it and give them 15 minutes. And you probably remember this was discussed
Yes.
a couple years ago.
And recently.
Yes, yeah. So this is just to approve him to be on the agenda as a scheduled appointment.
All I need is consensus, gentlemen. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Rochelle? Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald? Mr. Wentworth, yes. I'll let you set that up. Okay?
Will we have a copy of the lease?
Yes.
Don't you already have a copy of the lease?
I do, but I want to make sure it's the updated one, the right one.
Be an updated one until we sit down and talk to them, have a discussion with them, then we go back to the drawing board. All right. We're gonna move on to a non-public session. Need a motion to go in non-public session underneath RSA 91-A:3, paragraph 2, A, C, and E. Wait a minute, excuse me. At 7:10.
Second.
Motion made by Ruben Webb to go into non-public session underneath RSA 91-A:3, paragraph 2, A, C, and E at 7:10 PM, second by Mr. Donald. Any discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Vote is the affirmative. Folks, we are in non-public session at 7:10. We will come back into public session afterwards. All right, folks, we're back from non-public session at 7:40 PM Monday night. And gentlemen, I'd like to entertain a motion not to divulge the minutes of our non-public session, 9/21/20, under the reasons of A, B, and C. Not C. A and B, affects adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of this board. B, renders a proposed action ineffective. Does not include C, I was wrong.
Because that's terrorism.
C includes terrorism, there is no terrorism.
Sure.
We're not Wisconsin. Yes, sir, do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Maybe I call Rochelle, not to divulge the non-public session of September 21st, underneath A and B, effective adversely the person other than a member of this board, and B, render proposed action ineffective. Seconded by
Me.
Mr. Whitman. I'll poll the board. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle? Mr. McDonald?
Yes.
Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. At this time, the minutes have been approved not to divulge. And gentlemen, at this point, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting at 7:41.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Rochelle has made a motion to adjourn 7:41, second by Mr. Whitman. Any discussion? I'll poll the board. Mr. Whitman?
Yes.
Mr. McDonald? Yes. Mr. Holt?
Yes.
Mr. Rochelle?
Yes.
Mr. Wentworth, yes. Folks, we are adjourned at 7:42 now. Thank you for attending tonight, and we will see you next week, same time, same place on the budget. Thank you all for attending tonight. Have a lovely week. Do your reading.